First Contact and Desperate Alliance. Listen to me, and listen well. I am Fleet Commander Zyrex Tholian of the Stellar Confederation, veteran of the Proxima campaign, survivor of the Siege of Titan's Reach, and bearer of the Order of the Celestial Guardian. I'm recording this message as a warning to all future generations of spacefaring species throughout the galaxy. What I'm about to tell you is not classified information. It's a desperate plea. If you value your sanity, your military doctrine, and everything you thought you knew about warfare, under no circumstances should you ever allow human battleships to enter your conflicts. No, I am not exaggerating. Yes, I am entirely serious. Our war with the Void Harvesters had been raging for 13 standard cycles. For those unfamiliar with these monstrosities, imagine sentient cosmic parasites the size of small moons, encased in shells harder than neutronium, with tendrils capable of ripping apart battle cruisers like they were made of vapor. Their sole purpose: consuming all complex life in the galaxy to fuel their reproduction. By the time I was appointed Fleet Commander, we had lost 38 star systems, 17 colony worlds, and nearly 40% of our combined military assets. The Void Harvesters had developed a method of generating micro-singularities within the shields of our vessels, effectively turning our defensive systems into deadly traps. Our scientists were baffled, our admiralty was in disarray, and the civilian population had begun evacuating toward the Galactic Rim. The Stellar Confederation Council was in permanent emergency session. That's when Admiral Krell, my direct superior, approached me with a datapad. "We found something," he said, sliding the device across the crystalline table. "An unaligned world on the spiral arm. Primitive, only just achieved rudimentary space travel, but interesting." The screen displayed a small blue-green world orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. Earth, they called it. How quaint. "Their technology is archaic," I said after skimming the report. "Chemical propellants. Nuclear fission. They haven't even unified their planetary government." "Keep reading," Krell insisted, his 7 eye stalks fixed intensely on me. What followed was, frankly, disturbing. These humans had an obsession with warfare that bordered on the pathological. While most species experience a violent phase in their development before reaching enlightenment, these creatures had refined the art of killing each other to a level that made our xenosociologists physically ill. "They're savages," I concluded. "They're survivors," Krell corrected. "And they think differently." That should have been our first warning. The Council debated for 3 full rotations before reaching consensus. We would send a diplomatic envoy to Earth to request their assistance. My objections were noted and promptly ignored. I was, in fact, selected to lead the mission. "Your experience with unorthodox threats makes you ideal," the High Counselor explained. "Besides, if these humans prove dangerous, you have the authority to terminate contact immediately." If only it had been that simple. We chose a landing site in an area called Switzerland, apparently known for neutrality. Our stealth systems engaged, we descended through Earth's atmosphere in the middle of their night cycle. The plan was to make contact solely with their highest authorities, maintain protocol, and control the information flow. That plan lasted exactly 12 minutes. It turns out our advanced stealth technology hadn't been calibrated to account for such primitive detection systems as radio wave reflection. Humans called it radar. Within minutes, our diplomatic vessel was surrounded by primitive aircraft armed with what appeared to be simple chemical explosives. Following protocol, I emerged alone with Universal Translator engaged. "We come in peace and seek dialogue with your leaders," I announced, my translator converting my harmonic vibrations into their crude spoken language. The human who approached, distinguished by decorations on its outer covering, didn't seem impressed. That's what they always say in the movies before the shooting starts. What do you want with Earth? No greeting, no formalities, just direct questioning. How refreshingly blunt. I began explaining the Stellar Confederation's principles, our democratic governance, the threat of the Void Harvesters. The human interrupted after just 40 seconds. So you're losing a war and want our help? Not a question. A statement. Our technological sophistication far exceeds yours. I clarified, feeling somewhat insulted. We seek alliance, not salvation. The human made a sound. I later learned this was called laughter, that my translator couldn't properly interpret. Listen, squid face, the human said. I've been in enough wars to know when someone's desperate. Take me to whoever's in charge of your group, and let's stop wasting time. I should have terminated contact right there. Within a rotation, news of our arrival had spread across their global information networks. Rather than mass panic, the humans displayed curiosity, excitement, and disappointment that we didn't match their fictional depictions of alien life. One human journalist actually asked if we had probed any of their rural citizens, a question so baffling that 3 of our xenoanthropologists spent a full day analyzing it. The formal diplomatic meetings weren't any better. We prepared comprehensive presentations on Confederation governance, interstellar law, and the benefits of membership. The humans listened politely, then asked questions that made our diplomats' color-shifting skin turn permanently gray. Who controls your military spending? What happens to species that violate your laws? How do you prevent power concentration? What's the average citizen's quality of life? They weren't accepting our claims at face value. They were interrogating them. More concerning, they seemed particularly interested in our weapons technology, defensive capabilities, and the exact nature of the Void Harvester's weaknesses. After 3 Earth days of negotiations, they agreed to send a limited engagement force to assist in strategic operations against the Harvesters. In return, they requested interstellar drive technology, advanced materials science, and medical knowledge. The Council accepted immediately, desperate for any advantage. I registered my concerns once more, suggesting we start with minimal technology transfers until we better understood our new allies. We don't have time for caution. Admiral Krell dismissed me. The Harvesters have just taken the Rigel system. We need the humans now. As I watched the Earth delegation depart with the technical data packages, I couldn't shake the feeling that we had just made a terrible mistake. I had no idea just how right I was. The humans promised to have their battleships ready within 6 of their months. We expected perhaps a handful of vessels built with our technology, crewed by humans, but following standard Confederation tactics. I should have known better. The human battleships arrive. When the human fleet arrived at our rendezvous point near Epsilon Eridani, I initially thought there had been some mistake. Instead of the sleek, efficient designs that characterized Confederation vessels, the human ships were monstrosities. Their flagship, which they called the TES Defiance, was nearly twice the size of our largest dreadnought. Its hull was an irregular, asymmetrical mass of angles and protrusions that violated every principle of efficient space design. The entire exterior bristled with what appeared to be weapon systems, not just defensive arrays as our ships carried, but offensive weapons, hundreds of them, of varying sizes and presumably functions, covering nearly every surface. What in the 7 nebulae is that? My second-in-command whispered as we watched from the observation deck. I had no answer. Our sensors could barely make sense of the readings. The energy signatures were chaotic, fluctuating in patterns that suggested multiple redundant power systems. The hull material wasn't the lightweight, energy-dispersing alloy we had provided them. It was something else entirely, something dense and brutally primitive. And they had brought 27 such vessels. The human admiral, a female named Helena Chen, requested permission to come aboard our command ship for strategic coordination. I granted it, of course, though my apprehension had grown to genuine alarm. Commander Tholian, she greeted me with a gesture they call a salute. The Earth Defense Fleet is at your disposal. We've studied the tactical data on the Void Harvesters and believe we can be of assistance. Your ships, I began carefully. They don't appear to utilize our design specifications. Admiral Chen's face formed what I now recognize as a smile, though at the time it struck me as oddly predatory. "We incorporated your technology, certainly," she replied. "But we adapted it to our own philosophical approach to warfare." "And what philosophy is that, exactly?" I asked. "If something is worth shooting once, it's worth shooting 1,000 times," she said. "Now, where are these harvesters? My crews are eager to test our new toys." I should have been horrified. Instead, against all better judgment, I felt the faintest stirring of hope. The Void Harvester had been detected in the Ta-Ceti system, consuming its way through the fourth planet's crust. Standard procedure called for containment, keeping the creature occupied while evacuation proceeded, then strategic withdrawal to prepare defenses at the next likely target. Admiral Chen rejected this approach immediately. "Containment? We're not pest control, Commander. We're exterminators." She pointed to the holographic display of the system. "We don't need to evacuate if we kill the thing outright." "That's impossible," I explained patiently. "The Harvester's shell can withstand direct hits from our most powerful weapons. We've never successfully destroyed one." "You've never hit one with a kinetic impactor moving at 30% light speed," Chen countered. "Or with our NOVA warheads." "Your what?" "Never mind. Just get your ships clear of this attack vector," she said, indicating a corridor through the system. "And have your sensors ready. You'll want to record this." I compiled, against my better judgment, and gave orders for our fleet to maintain safe distance. The human vessels formed a peculiar arrangement, not the spherical defensive formation we would have used, but a spearhead configuration with their largest ships at the tip. What happened next still gives me nightmares. The human ships accelerated toward the Harvester at speeds our tactical officers deemed recklessly unsafe for maneuvering. The Harvester, detecting their approach, extended its energy-draining tendrils, the same weapons that had shredded countless Confederation cruisers. The humans didn't attempt to evade. Instead, the lead ship, the Defiance, fired what appeared to be a solid projectile. Our sensors indicated it was simply a metal rod, perhaps 20 meters long, with minimal guidance systems, but it was moving at a significant fraction of light speed. When it struck the Harvester's shell, the energy released was cataclysmic. A blinding flash temporarily overloaded our sensors. When they recovered, we observed something unprecedented: a crack in the Harvester's supposedly impenetrable shell. Before the creature could react, the human ships launched what they later called a synchronized barrage. Thousands of projectiles, energy beams, and explosives slammed into the damaged area from all directions simultaneously. The coordination was impeccable, a symphony of destruction that no Confederation tactician would have ever conceived. The Harvester's defenses faltered. Its tendrils lashed out wildly, managing to grab one of the smaller human vessels. In our experience, this meant certain destruction for the captured ship. Instead, the human vessel's engines suddenly flared to maximum output. It accelerated directly toward the Harvester's wounded shell, dragging the tendril with it. The crew, we later learned, had evacuated to escape pods moments before, leaving the ship's reactor set to overload. The resulting explosion tore the tendril free and widened the breach in the shell. Within seconds, the remaining human ships concentrated their fire on this vulnerability with a ferocity that left my crew stunned into silence. 16 minutes after engagement began, the Void Harvester, an entity that had destroyed entire Confederation fleets, shuddered, contracted, and then exploded in a blast that scattered its remains across half the star system. A cheer erupted through the human communication channels. Admiral Chen's voice came through our speakers, sounding disturbingly calm. "Target eliminated. We lost the Dauntless and have 37 casualties. Recommend immediate pursuit of the second Harvester detected in the Proxima system before it realizes what happened here." I found my voice with difficulty. "Admiral Chen, your tactics were unorthodox." "Unorthodox?" She sounded amused. "Commander Tholian, that was textbook human warfare. Hit hard, hit fast, and bring overwhelming firepower to bear on the enemy's weakest point. But the sacrifice of your vessel. The dauntless crew knew the risks, she interrupted, and they took 1,200 of their people with them to destroy a monster that was going to eat an entire planet. I'd call that a fair trade. That was the moment I truly understood what we had unleashed upon the galaxy. Not just allies in our war, but a fundamental challenge to how wars would be fought henceforth. In the following months, the human fleet, soon joined by dozens more of their bizarre, over-armed vessels, systematically hunted down and destroyed void harvesters across 7 sectors. Their casualties were substantial by Confederation standards, but the humans considered them acceptably light, given the strategic objectives achieved. Their tactics evolved with each engagement. They studied the harvesters, identified patterns, exploited weaknesses we hadn't even recognized. Where Confederation doctrine emphasized caution, precision, and minimal losses, the humans brought adaptability, overwhelming force, and a willingness to make sacrifices that horrified and fascinated us in equal measure. 6 standard cycles after first contact, the last known void harvester was destroyed in the Antares system. The war that had nearly broken the Stellar Confederation was over, decisively won by creatures who had been using chemical rockets less than a decade earlier. And that is why I issue this warning to all who might hear it. Be careful what you ask for when you seek alliance with humans. Their ships may look primitive, their methods barbaric, their tactics reckless, but they get results. Results that will change you and your civilization forever. For once you've seen what human battleships can do, you can never unsee it. You can never go back to the ordered, predictable warfare you once knew. They will save you, yes, but the price may be higher than you're prepared to pay. I know. I've paid it. The Confederation has paid it. Our military doctrines have been rewritten, our ship designs reimagined, our understanding of what constitutes acceptable losses fundamentally altered. Perhaps it's for the better. Perhaps we needed this evolution to survive in a hostile universe. But sometimes, in the quiet cycles when sleep eludes me, I wonder what might have happened if we'd never found Earth, never invited their steel monstrosities into our elegant cosmic ballad of war. I wonder, and I shudder. So heed my warning. If you face extinction, by all means, call upon the humans and their battleships. But understand that what comes after may be unrecognizable to you. And may whatever gods you worship have mercy on your enemies, for the humans certainly will not. This is Fleet Commander Xerex Tholian. End transmission.